TPCSI fans, you want to revolutionize your sports investing habits? Allow me to tell you about WagerWire. WagerWire is an app that helps you become a superior bettor by allowing you to sync all your sports books and track all your bets in one place. See your current action, your betting history, and stats. You could also sign up for sports books and collect bonus offers. Follow them at WagerWire on X, as it's the best account on the platform. Head to App Store or Play Store now and search WagerWire and download the app.
2,000 years long, we will never settle. Hard days, no way, with a heavy metal. No time, no fail, won't stop here. Like a torch to a flame when it burns hot. We won't stop, come on, baby, higher. Like a torch to a flame when it burns hot. We won't stop.
Good afternoon, sports fans from all around the world. I am the host, Jeff Dawson, East Coast Sports Investors. It's that time of the week for Fight Night Fortunes with Mr. Lou Finocchiaro at GamLou on Twitter. UFC 307 live from Salt Lake City. Last week we were in Paris, and this week we're back in the States. Big Octagon, as Lou like to say. A lot of, I would say, middle-aged, as I was listening to his Sneak Deep podcast on Monday. 6 fighters, 6 fights, welterweights and beyond. And the age, 13 fighters, 35 plus of age. So maybe, Lou, I still got it. Maybe, I might be able to go a round or two. But I doubt it. I'm a little past my prime. Anyways, large Octagon, violence expected. So that's what we're hoping for. Shout out to our proud sponsors and partnerships. It's WagerWire. Head on over to Google Play. Download the app. It's free. Atlanta Steak and Seafood. Terry Smith, second to none. The best quality around and the best customer service. Go follow him on Facebook. Run to the website, Atlanta Steak and Seafood. Place an order today. Anything over $199 or beyond, 15% off. Use the promo code CUSTOMER. And, of course, Viva Tequila Seltzer, CT Bets, the team, the family, second to none. Go try one where you get your adult beverages. The East Coast is cuckoo for coconut. Shout out to Elijah Cox behind the glass. Now, the man, the myth, the legend, Mr. Lou Finocchiaro.
More myth than anything, guys. And boy, those 2 commercials are great. But how awesome is that Atlanta Steak and Seafood commercial, Jeffrey? I mean, I'm ready to eat my microphone right now. That thing made me so hungry. Well done. That's a really nice piece. I'm tickled to be here. It is UFC 307. They go back to Salt Lake City. It's funny. They've been to Salt Lake like twice in the last year and a half, and they just made it back to Paris after a handful, almost a handful of years. So there's no rhyme or reason. Now there's a little altitude in Salt Lake. I don't know that. And it won't affect the fighters that went there 10, 15 days ahead of time to do their training. It could surely affect some of the fighters that ship in and get there immediately without spending time there. And as you mentioned, a lot of experienced, wise fighters on this card, meaning a lot of old fighters on the card in a big cage. In the first 3 fights of the night, old people are pitted against one another, which makes for great fighting. And then as we go on, we get into a few discrepancies, but the card should be outstanding.
I know we're here for 307. We do a show every week. There's fights. Last week in Paris, I just want to, and again, I'm like you, once the fight's over, we turn the page and we move on. Everyone wants to know, what have we done for you lately? They don't care about last night's results. I like to ask you, the expert, the fight, I don't know the proper adjective there. I saw a before and after. It was like a Rocky fight, and I'm going to the main event. And Saint Denis probably obviously had his worst first round in the history of his fight career. Can you, just by watching that fight, other than just saying he got his butt whooped, what the hell did happen, Lou?
Well, I look at it from the perspective of how I made the release on the fight. You're asking a slightly different question, but I'll answer both. What happened was a brilliant mixed martial artist, shy on experience, faced a brilliant mixed martial artist with an abundance of experience. That's what happened. And I'll also say that 2 times this year, Moicano has competed. 2 times I've faded him. I'm down 6 units on the guy. So, and I wrote this out into Twitter after that, during that fight card. I don't know that anyone's been as incorrect about a fighter in the handicapping business as I've been on Moicano. 2 times I thought he was going to get the brakes beat off of him. The first time he did, but the opponent let him up. And at the end of the day, you look at the scoreboard and Moicano submitted him. Came back off the ground after being almost knocked out, submitted the guy. And in this fight, he goes against a guy that's supposed to, as I said, lawn boy over spring grass. If you remember a week ago, that this was going to be the greatest of mismatches. And it was, except I had it as wrong as I possibly could. And it's important for us to understand in a sport where currently the Bout Business podcast, I don't have my records here, but I'm like 70 and 85. So I'm way below 500 betting dogs all the time, and favorites are 67%. And so Moicano, the 6 units of loss I've experienced on Moicano accounts for a big amount of my profit right now. So I've been wrong. I've paid the price. I'm here to stand up for it, that everybody continues to learn. And so the next time Moicano fights, I'm going to stop him cold by betting on him. And then I'll ensure that the other guy will win, and I can be totally miserable.
Well, in such a brutal sport, you train, you work hard. There's nothing you can do once you get a cut, and then you're still fighting. You train to fight. You train to keep moving forward. But when you can't see and the cut's just getting big and bigger. I mean, I know these are trained assassins. They're professionals. But at some point, you're not training for that, Lou.
Well, he's training not to quit, and that's what we got from the guy. And if the doctor wouldn't have stopped it, they'd have continued on the course. But what would it have solved? It would have just made Moicano look more dominant, and Saint Denis would have incurred more mess than he already did. So, really, I think the right thing happened. What is difficult is to come to grips with the substantial loss of Moicano represents to me, and that that I'm bordering on stubborn as far as fading him. But I can tell you, I'm done fading him now. I've taken my medicine, and the guy is world class. I didn't think he could translate after all those years at 145 up at 155, and I am as wrong as I can be. That said, that's also last week, and I'm really not worried about it. I've already puked it out during Sunday football, because in the handicapping business, you can't be upset. And the other thing is, even in the NFL, if I go 57%, that means 43% of the time I'm experiencing a loss in my investment. So if you're not thick-skinned in this business, this ain't the business for you. You go open a flower shop somewhere. But this is the business we have chosen, and it's the fight business that I'm in, and I couldn't be happier, despite the fact that when I miss pretty good.
I am so glad you worded it that way. Before we launched publicly in 2015, Lou, I drove from Cape Cod to Delaware. I drove 8.5 hours to a good friend of mine, very successful restaurant owner, and I gave him my blueprint, what I wanted to do. The first question he asked me, Lou, He goes, are you thick-skinned? I said, 100% I am. He goes, I'm in. And the rest is history. So you are smart. I'm telling you, we're brothers from another mother, Lou.
Well, I mean, it sounds like the guy you talked to knew his stuff too.
1,000%.
Because if you're going to get nauseous over this, that, or the other thing, I'm telling you, go garden.
UFC 307, Salt Lake City, Utah. 4 fights that we're going to have you break down. I am using DraftKings right now, so I'm going to go to the first fight here. Let me just scroll and get us some live up-to-date odds. Ryan Spawn versus St. Preux. Currently, Ryan Spawn minus 250, St. Preux plus 205, over 1.5, minus 120, Lou.
Yeah, early fight, maybe one of the first of those 3 that I mentioned. And this is really a great matchup. And so this isn't one of the, don't quote me where this chronologically is on the card, but St. Preux is the key, and he fights Span, and the key is that they're 205 pounders early in the card. Here's the deal. Span's 6'5", a monster of a guy. Early in fights, he's fluid, he's explosive, he's powerful, but he's also tends to be a little bit of a front runner. And by that I mean, if he can light you up early, he loves to win, and he loves to win early. But if it goes and it looks like in the 4th minute, halfway through the last minute of the first round, that the other guy's there and he's willing and he's coming right back at Span, that ain't a good recipe for Span. He doesn't stand up well to that, and that's what I mean by a front runner. Everybody looking at St. Preux's age 41 saying, oh, man, his better days are behind him, and they might be. The thing is, though, the guy's a great wrestler. His striking's improved up into his 41st year. He's fought monsters, and in fact, in his last fight, he fought a 6'5" monster from the same gym that Span trains with. These 2 guys, Kennedy, I won't pronounce his last name, and Span are training partners at the same gym. And what did Ovince St. Preux do? He went out there and showed in the 3rd round he could dig deep at 40 years old and win a fight. And I love him against Span. We're going to have to, if you're thinking about looking and using St. Preux, you're going to watch a first round where you're going to think, lose, never handicap fights again. Here's another Moicano. Because Span's going to come out swinging, and if he flushes St. Preux, it's over. But if St. Preux can run, wrestle, avoid, and take this fight into the 2nd round, I love his position, and I'm going to take St. Preux, and I want to share it with you guys too. At a better than plus 2-1 underdog, I wouldn't be in a hurry to bet him. Just sit back and wait. Chances are they'll be betting the favorite in parlays as we lead up to the fight card.
Oh, the old public and the money line parlays. We got to love them. I know the books do, Lou.
This year in football, they do.
Second fight, Elijah, we're going to go to, let me see here, Almeida versus Porteria. I am going to scroll right here. Cesar Almeida against Mr. Porteria. Almeida minus 375. Porteria plus 295. Over under. The under is juiced minus under 1.5, minus 125 currently. If you like the over, minus 105, Lou.
Yeah, Potier is like 2-4 or so in the UFC. He's a big, strong brawler of a guy that's willing, capable. But when he's mixed or pitted against refined, well-rounded, and specialized mixed martial artists that are precise with striking, he can run into trouble because that's not what he is. You take him into the parking lot with you, you're going to win. In an octagon where there's a little bit more rules and athleticism and precision means something, he tends to struggle in that area, giving way to power and brute strength. He fights a guy in Almeida that years ago beat Pereira, who's in the main card and the big champion, the toy of the UFC. This guy beat Pereira years ago in a kickboxing contest. Almeida's 34. He'll be giving away a little size and reach here. And I'm not as strong on Potiera being a live underdog here, but this should be a competitive fight, and Potiera ain't going to back down. He's going to go out there and try and knock Almeida out quickly as well. The total seems about right, but I think Potiera, again, another guy I'd wait, and if I could get close to 4-1 or a little better on him, how do you not sprinkle a little something on the guy that's clearly giving away the refined, polished striking to Almeida, but is a brute monster, and he's going to give it all he has.
Well, we did say in the preview to violence is scheduled, so that's what we're here for.
This will be a violent fight.
Third fight on our card right here, Buckley and Thompson. And I have the current odds as we speak right here. Let me scroll down a little more. I had them. 1 second.
Buckley 2.25. Thompson plus 190.
Yeah, actually right now, right. Buckley minus 225. Stephen Thompson plus 185. The over minus 215 right now, Lou. Over 2.5 rounds.
Okay, so in this fight, Buckley opens minus 150. So you've seen a pretty good amount of money come in on Buckley. Buckley's shorter, he's more squat, but he is much the younger fighter here. 29 years old fighting a 40-year-old in Thompson. So Buckley has wrestling, doesn't necessarily always use it. He prefers to go in there and stand wide-footed and let him go. And when he does that, he knocks guys out. He's got great power, but he can wrestle, and you don't see him wrestle that much. In this fight, he has to wrestle Thompson, because if he tries to strike with him, it's my opinion that the larger cage side is going to allow the 40-year-old, still very athletic, long, tall, going to have a height advantage, reach advantage, surely precision and speed. Speed might be the same because of age, but Thompson's precision and athleticism from the outside will pepper Buckley on the entry to try and engage to his striking or get a hold of him to wrestle. So I think Thompson has the experience here and the game to frustrate Buckley. And if he can keep it standing for a round, and this fight enters round 2, we'll see Buckley get a little bit more frustrated and desperate to try and make entry. And that's when Stephen Wonderboy Thompson is at his best. And so I'm going to go with Thompson here as an underdog, and I like him in this fight. It's going to be a good competitive fight. You see the 2.5 over minus 215. Decision is not out of the question for Thompson based on volume striking whatsoever.
That leads us to the main event here, and as you said, the face of Dana White doesn't want to hear us say the face of the UFC because he's still
he does.
John Jones.
Oh no, he knows Jones is out there. They're using him as Pereira's their toy. They're shining. They're flashing him out there for everybody to see, and they're using him in this card, Jeffrey, to prop up the fact that the two women in the co-main event can't main event. Unfortunately, the women's bantamweight division without Amanda Nunes is mashed potatoes with no salt and pepper. It's just blah, and there's nothing there. So while we get a championship fight in the co-main, we're not talking about it because the main is there to shine light on the whole card. And that's what it's going to do, because Roundtree's coming in, a striker, and he's going to go in there and try and strike with Pereira. And if we look at Pereira's record, we can see a laundry list of guys that have thought they could go in there and strike with him and have gotten knocked out. Now, yes, Izzy Adesanya knocked Pereira out, but that was at 185 and some time ago. And Pereira, in my opinion, was compromised by the cut. He walks around at 235, and people, when you look at him weigh in at 205, wonder how he ever got to 185, which is a miracle. But at 205, this dude's a monster. But the issue is that Roundtree's willing, explosive, highly uneven, has been inconsistent through his career, and can be sometimes challenged. In early fights in his career, he wasn't as strong mentally as he's grown to be now. I think that's a fair statement. And so he's coming. We're going to see his best. And could he knock Pereira out? Yep. Will he knock Pereira out? I don't know, but he has the power to do it. Let's understand one thing, and I'll leave it at this. I usually find if I can find a fighter, male or female, that's tucked 3 fights into 8 months, or a lot of fights into a short amount of time where they're fighting, then turning around in camp, fighting and turning around in camp, back to back to back. I usually fade that fighter. This is Pereira's 5th fight in 14 months, and I'll leave it at that.
You know, I saw
and he hasn't been fighting bums of the month like they do in boxing. He's fighting killers like Blachowicz and Prochaska and other guys. So I'm just saying, if you're a gambler, ain't gonna hurt you to throw a little something on Roundtree.
I was gonna say that I saw some clips on Roundtree, and he is
sorry about my dogs, guys.
All right.
I apologize about the dogs. There's someone at my door. It's an unscheduled visit, and we're just going to have to live through some dog barking. I apologize.
No, the dogs are barking. I mean, with the fights that you were talking about, that's a great sign, Lou. So there you go, right there. Just before you leave, if you got 1 second, tell everyone where they can find you and about your podcast on Friday, of course.
The Monday podcast is the Sneak Teep. It's out every Monday wherever podcasts are. It's an early look at line moves. The Friday podcast is called Bout Business, and I'm going to go out and have a bout or two with my dogs when I get done with this podcast. Anyway, the Bout Business podcast available at gamblu.com, and tomorrow it'll be available midday Pacific time. So thanks so much, Jeff, for letting me come on and hit your clientele with my expertise. I'm sorry, I got a guy at the door that's about to get yelled at. I'm sorry to cut it quick, but we'll see you next week, and thanks so much.
Take care, Lou. The one and only Lou Finocchiaro. You know, it's funny in this business. Yeah, the Amazon truck comes to my house like it's Christmas every day. There's 3, 4, 5 trucks, Amazon, UPS, DHL, whatever it is. I have a little pup running around, and you know, due to COVID, a lot of people have in-house studios. So shit happens, life happens. And in our business, when the dogs are barking, that's usually a good sign. So go follow Lou at GamLou, obviously, on Twitter. You can catch him on VSiN. Mondays, the Sneak Teep podcast. And on Fridays, the Bout Business podcast. GamLou.com. And if you need an email, Lou at GamLou.com. I'm telling you guys, the guy is passionate. As he says, he doesn't bet all the sports. He shrinks it down so he can focus and strike in this college baseball and the NFL. So go check him out there. 5 o'clock, myself and Riley Magnuson will be back for the closing bell here. Shout out, of course, to Mr. Elijah Cox. Great job as always. To everyone watching and listening, thank you so much. And enjoy the rest of the afternoon, and we will see you.